Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles presents Donatello and Leatherhead, number 2 of 3 from 1993. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. It's Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color comic book that's an anthology, and the main story is mine. And this is the newest one, number 34, and it has pages by Jamie Barrows, Jeremy Duncan, Swayze, Doug Roberts, and Jay Quirk. You can get this at Comics Creators Marketplace, and the link will be in the description, or you can get these at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin. And I always appreciate the support, and all of these will actually be on Comics Creators Marketplace, and you can check them out there, and as well as all kinds of other awesome indie comics creators, because that's what it is, the Comics Creators Marketplace, and it's basically the eBay of indie comics creators. So let's get on to the show. So I think this is the first time I've gone over Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing. I think I maybe have gone over some adjacent stuff. I can't remember. I've done so many reviews now. I've done over 300 reviews. I think I have over 300 videos. I think I have 360 videos, and most of those are reviews. So if if there's some indie comic out there that you want reviewed, or it may have already been done, so either give a recommendation of something you'd like reviewed, or check out the other videos that I've done. I may have already done it. So I didn't really know who Leatherhead was. Apparently, he's some sort of character from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This doesn't really follow any kind of... it's from Archie comics, and it doesn't really follow any kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic cartoon. This is from 1993, so it actually came out probably very shortly after the cartoon came out. I'm not entirely sure when the cartoon came out, late 80s, early 90s. So this isn't that far away from that. I'm not a huge fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I do like the cartoon. I did like the cartoon. And I did get a lot of the issues early on. I wish I'd kept them because they're super valuable now. Raphael, I remember I had Raphael number 1 because Raphael obviously was my favorite, because he's the coolest. And let me know who your favorite turtle was, and let me know if you guys are into the turtles. This whole anthropomorphic thing really blew up after the turtles came along, and just let me know what you guys were thinking about it. So this comic is super cartoonish. But it does a lot of things really, really well. But let's get into it, and I will backtrack and talk about the writing and the art, which really doesn't have a lot to be said about it because it is so simple. But I do have some thoughts about it. I said it before, Donatello, and I'll say it again. How come we always jump from the frying pan into the fire? Because we have to rescue our friend. That's why. One of the great things that this comic book does, and you'll see later on, especially, how I always complain about if it's not the first issue that they should have a little intro of what happened before. I'm just like Jim Shooter. Every comic book could easily be a reader's first comic of that series, so you should really clue them in as to the characters, what's going on, and everything like that. But this book does it even better than that, and it starts out with that, like they're running towards a cave. He's saying, why are we doing this? And Donatello says, because we have to rescue our friend. That's why. So, bam, you already know what's going on. I know we have to rescue Emer. Maybe you've forgotten how badly we need rescuing ourselves. Say what, Leatherhead? And this is one of the things that I love. It recaps the first issue in 2 pages. 2 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 panels. Completely recaps the first issue. I don't have any questions, really. I mean, unless they left something out. But I have no questions how they got here. They're in the center of the earth. It was yesterday, a month ago. Remember, we were working in that junkyard when that weird ship appeared? Tells you how they got there. They're in the center of the earth, or they brought them to the South Pole. They went into a volcano, which that's not really a great picture of a volcano. And They ended up in the center of the earth. The ship leaves them. Then we were captured by this terrible twosome named Naka and Vicarales to be sacrificed to prehistoric terrors at their tree of sacrifice. This kid, Emer, tries to help us, befalls on the back of a woolly rhino and is taken right into the place Verakas called the Forbidden Cave. So you're subtly hinting that we've a few close calls, a few dozen. So apparently this Leatherhead says before every sentence, which is kind of cool. So then they run through the cave. I did not know that this was what you're supposed to read this and then this. I just started printing Joseph Leonardo's book, six. I can't remember the name of it. The Six Lords of Sound. The Six Lords of Sound, and he's got a lot of double page spreads. And if you don't butt these heads, see this white line? If you don't get them together like that, then you don't know that it's a double page spread. That's not true because you can tell from the illustration. But this in particularly, if you're going this way, which I've never done this, I might try this at some point, and or talk to Joe. Maybe he might do something like that too, where it's actually different panels on the same page, but it is a double page spread. So I thought that I was supposed to go here, 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 here. But when you look at it together, it's all one. It's like two different pages, two different panels. So I'm just saying that you got to butt the pages and the panels together so that there's no space in between. So they run through the cave, and on the other side there's a whole bunch of dinosaurs, and we have to get Emor before any of these meat eaters sniff him for their next meal. I think we may have our work cut out for us. So Emor is here. He's, I don't know, he's a little rattled or whatever. Tyrannosaurus Rex sees him, starts chasing him, and then he starts chasing the three of them. They have this plan that to all go in different directions. Well, wouldn't that kill one of them? Because wouldn't the Tyrannosaurus Rex get one of them? But it's a very cartoony comic book, so anything happens. Cartoons is one of the great things about cartoons, especially if they're really aiming for the younger crowd, is that anything can literally happen. It's like a dream. Cartoons are very, or rather young children cartoons are very dreamlike quality because anything can happen. Like you can turn from, night to day in an instant. You can end up in a spaceship. Anything can happen. And the reader, if their minds are open enough, they won't really, care because they're just so nebulous. That's why I think that when I think about a lot of the cartoons that I watched when I was younger, they kind of, if I look at them now, they're not the same. The quality is not the same, obviously. But my mind is very much, it's like no, it's not like that. I was going to say it's like Mandela effect, but it's not. It's more like, you remember something a different way, you fetishize it, you change it in your mind to make it exactly what you want it to be, which is what I've done a lot of times with the things from my childhood. But anyway, the T-Rex chases them. They get away from them. They end up in a tar pit. They don't know where they're going. The storytelling is very simplistic. Everything happens bam, bam, bam. It's very much event with a little bit of dialogue and stuff in the middle to kind of keep you up to who the characters are and stuff like that. But it's really very little characterization and more event, which is, there's nothing wrong with that because you know who they are because they're so brightly, colored and lively. Cartoons are super lively. These kind of cartoons anyway. So who everybody is just by a few lines, a few strokes of the brush and whatever. They make their way through the tar pit and they come out the other end. But then they're chased by these wild, a herd of wild triceratops. Must said I really care, but is there a difference between wild triceratops and domestic ones? It says not that I care. Here we go again. The triceratops are chasing them. They jump onto these vines and they are swimming through the swamp. They end up in the swamp, and a giant and they're all messy and stuff. But then a giant plant attacks them. So really, they're going from place to place to place to place. They're being attacked, and they're moving as they're being attacked. They're being chased. They're moving from place to place, kind of like Princess Bride a little bit. But anyway, what's his name? Uaru. We rescue our friend. What's his name again? Emer. They rescue Emer from the plant, and they I don't know, they don't attack it. Yeah, they do attack it with their like spear things, but they don't kill it because it has little stars over its head. So they just knock it out, obviously for children's sake. A lot of these things, a lot of these story tropes, a lot of these colorful, animated like panels, a lot of these things are just basically because you're aiming for a child's audience. You're aiming for that audience, so you want them to kind of fill in the blanks of what's going on. They make their way to the beach. I guess they get out of the dinosaur range or whatever. They make themselves to the beach. They saw the ship. One of them saw the ship flying that way, so they're like, "Hey, I've got the great idea. Let's make a raft, and we'll go onto the other side of the ocean and try to find that ship so we can get home." So within seconds, they build a raft. I'm thinking that these are like bamboo and it's super light and stuff, but that's my adult brain thinking that way. I should be thinking cartoon. They can do whatever they want. If you put too many literal ideas into this process, then you're not really going to enjoy the whole thing, I don't think. So they build the raft and they take off, and they're flying through the ocean, or they're floating through the ocean, whatever. They do explain a few things. They talk about how the time dilation, there's like a difference in time dilation. It seems less like time slows down. They're also not as hungry and not as thirsty as they would be on the surface because of this time dilation thing, because they're in the center of the earth. So that's kind of a little bit interesting that they would go into that as, this is a child's comic book. So that's kind of interesting. But there's a storm. I don't know. There's some sort of solar. I'm trying to think of where they get light, but there's some sort of globe that gives them light under the earth, and there's also different weather patterns and stuff, I guess. So lightning strikes them. They get all freaked out and they end up into the water. But then a giant turtle saves them because, of course, reasons. They're talking about how it's a relation of Donatello, and this is also when Leatherhead talks about how he learned all about dinosaurs, and Donatello was like, "I was wondering how you knew all about dinosaurs," and he says it's like a wonderful thing that he learned, and where does it say? I'm going to try to read some of it. He talks about reminds me of the wild stories I read as a kid. Remember stories by great writers like Jules Verne and Edgar Rice Burroughs? Yeah, but I always reckoned that they were just science fiction, that they couldn't possibly be real like this. Reading those stories is that made me such a dinosaur buff when I was growing up. Cool. I was going to ask you how you've been identifying so many beasties since we've arrived. So he keeps talking about all of these different dinosaurs, like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. He's like, hey, that's a T-Rex, and that's a, Triceratops or whatever. So they're like, hey, are there any monsters in the sea? And so a giant crocodile obviously comes up, and then Leatherhead, being a crocodile himself, starts to kind of give him a talking to, kind of is a little bit stern with him. The giant crocodile doesn't attack them because he realizes that he's one of their species, and he just kind of floats away or swims away or whatever. And then a current pulls them to, or the giant turtle brings them to where they were supposed to go, and they end up on the beach, and the giant turtle swims away, and they're on to their next adventure. And up above the sky is a giant pterodactyl. It swoops down, grabs Leatherhead, and takes him away. And Donatello and Emer are like, what are we going to do now? But then from the behind them, these wing-horsed women who are Amazonians come along. Ha, you haven't seen anything yet. Now halt, or we will attack. Now what? So that's how it ends. That's how it goes into the next issue. So some of the things that I do like about this book, a lot of things really. It's how simple it is. When I'm going to review this as if I was a kid, and how I would enjoy it, because it does go event, which is perfectly okay. There's plenty of action. There's plenty of adventure. The story-wise, it goes really perfectly and really smoothly. There are a couple places where I didn't read it correctly, so the letterers were a little bit off. Like some of this, not that stuff. What was it? There was a couple pages anyway where the lettering and the word balloons, they were just kind of off, and I didn't really follow them in the right direction. But anyway, I really enjoy a lot of the transitions and the way they go very seamlessly from encounter to encounter, and the movement of the characters. One thing I do not appreciate, though, is the lack of backgrounds in some of these panels, and they could have just put a little bit more detail like this. I don't know why they're falling. I don't know why they're in the sky, because they're going to be entering the cave. So why would this be all blue? Why not put just a horizon line, maybe some trees in the background, just a little bit, just a hint to say what's there. Same thing with this whole 4 panels, really devoid of any kind of backgrounds, and even a child's book, even a cartoon like this. It really should. You have a little bit of horizon line, even a horizon line. Just a horizon line would have been fine, and I would have been okay. But because I know that it is a cartoon book, and they are just being very very economical with their space and time, and also they're doing that because, as I said, for children, their mind is going to fill in the blanks for a lot of that stuff. But you should give us a little bit of an indication of the background or whatever. So the recap is fantastic. Like I said, I understood everything. All of the characters are really good. So all of this stuff I'm really appreciating. I really like the dialogue. In my head, for some reason, I've been watching Rick and Morty. So in my head, I'm reading this as Morty in his whiny voice. But, that's what it is. I really enjoyed it. I did, like I said, I enjoyed the writing. And the art is very economical, as I said. But it's loose. It's loose and, like it could go anywhere and anything. Just wish they had a little bit more backgrounds to just kind of, a horizon line, just a horizon line would have been something fantastic. And or like you've got this pink and then you've got this blue. I don't know how much I like that. Having like the sky is pink, then the sky is yellow, then the sky is blue. I kind of wish, for consistency's sake, it would have just been all this blue. But as a child, you want those bright primary colors to be there, I guess, to keep their attention. And having lots of different colors probably does do that, probably does keep their attention. So that's one thing to kind of keep account of, I guess, when you're doing something like this. But yeah, everything works really well as far as the art and the writing, and it's very heavy emotion, as all animation. Wouldn't be surprised if this is animated by or drawn by a real animator who's just doing some comic books on the side, something like that, because it's super loose, and that's one of the things that you want. I did not say who wrote and drew this book, and I'm going to tell you that now. It's called Found One, Lost World. Script is by Stanley Waiter. Pencils is by Garrett Ho. Inks by Mark Scheremester. Sorry if I messed that up. Letters by Gary Fields. Colors by Barry Grossman. Edits by Dean Claren and Dino Lad Victor Gorek. I assume that's editor-in-chief, I guess, or the publisher. Nice cover, nice logos and all that stuff. Archie is very bright, very bright. So like I said, I enjoyed this. I would not get any more This just happened to be, my wife found it in the attic. Actually, it was one of my stepson's comics when he was a little kid. So I was like, hey, why not check that out? And so I would not buy anymore, but I'm not going to leave that as a 7. I'm not going to keep it as a 7 because even though I wouldn't buy it, it's not for me. One thing, I'm not like into this cartoony comic book kind of thing. It's obviously geared towards children. And if you like it as an adult, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just geared toward children and with all of the bright colors and all of that stuff. And it's just not something I'm really interested. But I do realize the artistry and the good writing that went into it and all of that stuff. So I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it a solid 8. I was a little bit confused at some of the points because of the lettering and the word balloons, but that was not because of the writing or the art at all. That was simply because of the where the word balloons were. So I understood the story. I did enjoy the story. It harkened me back to almost back to watching Donatello and Raphael and what are their names? Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and I can't remember. Anyway, so I harken back to that. So that had a good feeling, and I did enjoy it. So I'm going to give it an 8. Yeah, Donatello, Leatherhead, number 2 of 3. I'm giving an 8. If you're new to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the notification button. But more than that, I really love comments from you guys. If you're into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you have this issue or you have other Turtles comics, let me know because I'd really love to hear that about you. I hear that from you guys and what everybody thinks about the Turtles. So anyway, we got other stuff coming on this week, and you can always, like I said, check out Comics Creators Marketplace, brand new website with more and more artists and more art, random access, Mutandis, all that stuff is going up to that website, which is really exciting. And thanks for watching. And again, let me know what you guys think. But after that, keep on creating.